How many people does it take to topple a democracy? Good afternoon, party people. It's your girl Yael, aka Blue Suede Shoes, and this is your news with a view. Up first, not a great first. That's right, Lisa M. Montgomery has become the first woman executed on death row in 67 years. This is actually a correction to the broadcast I did on January 8th, in which I said that multiple women were sitting on death row. At the time, she was, in fact, the only one sitting on death row. As a journalist, I have a responsibility to the public and people who consume my information to report the truth and nothing but that. Make it my solemn duty to do better. Montgomery was found guilty in 2007 for cutting a baby out of a woman while she was still alive. Her lawyers had exhausted the appeal process after arguing that years of abuse had seriously diminished Miss Montgomery's mental capacity. Lawyers should have known that argument wasn't going to work. The only time America cares about children is when they're still inside their mother. Up next, the Capitol Public School experience is complete. That's right, in response to last week's insurrection, metal detectors have been installed in the Capitol. Lawmakers are not happy about it. Apparently, the new decor is being seen as an inconvenience by some lawmakers, including one Colorado Rep. Lauren Boebert, who once bragged about her dedication to Second Amendment rights by promising that she would always remain armed even while on federal property. Rep. Steve Womack and Markwayne Mullin have already gotten into an altercation with Capitol Police. First of all, you know with a name like Markwayne, homie had a gun on him. I don't know what they complaining for. I had metal detectors in my high school and I turned out fine. Like most government buildings and public schools don't already have metal detectors. Inner city public schools, gotta make that distinction. Up last, happy impeachment day! Right, lawmakers are currently debating on whether or not Donald Trump is finally gonna get the axe. It took him 4 years. Lawmakers are set to vote on everything around 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. Unlike last time, it actually has Republican support. It took an insurrection for common sense to emerge in that party. I say this as a former Republican, not a Democrat. I'm honestly pro whoever can get the job done. Republican supporters include John Katko, Liz Cheney, and Jamie Herrera Butler, all of whom agree that the insurrection was incited by Donald Trump's speech to his people. The one he fails to take responsibility for, the ones in which he told armed maniacs to keep going and fight the steal. One analyzed by many people, very quality people, tremendous, extravagant people who said he did nothing wrong. Still go either way, as most Republicans are saying that they fear that voting for impeachment would further divide the country. I think that ship sailed when the GI banjos went to the Capitol last week. All jokes aside, 1984 was by far the scariest book that I ever read as a kid. And I bring it up now only because the current political climate that we're in is setting up something that's going to look a lot like it. Amplified by the continued polarization of people through big tech, social media, and customized news reports. Part of my reason for correcting my stance on a previous broadcast was because I genuinely believe that people like me are going to be tasked with the responsibility of telling the truth, not just the ones that we agree with either. And not for nothing, that's going to be pretty hard. Someone finally convinced me to watch The Social Dilemma yesterday. And while the documentary isn't saying anything new that we don't already know, it painted a pretty clear picture on how we got here and what's at stake. I know it's correct because Jack Dorsey out here looking like a lost mountain man. Bruh is stressed. Just because Joe Biden is in office doesn't mean that these problems are going to stop. Not without a massive cleanup of a lot of the stuff that we have on the internet. The problem with that gets into some really murky territory when it comes to freedom of speech. Where does the line stop between misinformation and disinformation? Where does the line stop between freedom of speech and hate speech? These are some of the questions we're going to be forced to ask ourselves over the next 3 to 5 years. And as government eventually steps in to regulate big tech, it's also going to change how a lot of us do business. Either way, this thing has grown so big and so uncontrollable and so enmeshed into every part of our lives that anything we do to deal with it is going to cause some kind of problem, potentially exacerbating the ones already in existence. But it's going to have to be worth it. Because when the longest standing democracy has National Guard troop members sleeping on the floor trying to protect the people in the building from the people outside of the building, while one of the parties responsible contemplates giving out pardons to himself, his cronies, and his family, something has to be done. Lord, could you apply Donald Trump's math to my bank account and his confidence to my stature? That'd be great. I get the bulk of my news from TMZ, Twitter feeds, CNN, and a couple of other places. But if you see something you want me to cover, don't be shy, tag me in.
Never been afraid to speak.